Welcome back. This video is going to explore the kind of questions that you can get asked in AQA English Literature Paper 2, the Modern Text section, and how you can make your choice. The examples given here are all from J.B. Priestley's and Inspector Calls, but the type of questions are from all the possible texts. So if you're one of those people studying the rarer texts with fewer revision resources, this may also be of use. Please subscribe and share with your friends. You get 2 questions and you choose one. We often think of them as a character and a thematic question, but that's not strictly true. To prevent a nasty shot, I've looked over all of the questions ever asked for all of the texts, and these are the 6 types of questions you can expect to get a choice from. Firstly, how far questions. These could actually be character questions, like how far does Priestley present male characters as irresponsible in the play? Sometimes you get something made up by an imaginary student or a bit attached to a quotation, like, Mr. Burling says, a man has to mind his own business and look after himself and his own. How far does Priestley present Mr. Burling as a man who cares only for himself and his family? To ensure you answer the question, you need to agree, somewhat agree, or disagree. This might ring bells for anybody else studying AQA English language. You could simply go for 3 paragraphs with one of these. Yes, that's right in terms of one thing. It's kind of right, but also wrong in terms of another. And it's wrong because any combination of agree and disagree is fine. Character questions. It's rarely a straightforward character question like how does Priestley present Sheila Burling, but it sometimes is. It's more likely to be with a qualifier like how and why does Sheila change in Inspector Calls, but it can also be a how far question like the Mr. Burling one. How far does Priestley present Mrs. Burling as an unlikable character? A straight character question is a bit of a gift, but so is the how far does Priestley present Mrs. Burling as an unlikable character question. Priestley doesn't want her to be likeable, and as I often say in class, she isn't going to win any Mum of the Year mugs come Mother's Day. The quality the exam board pick is usually so obvious that it's there only as a steer. Keep using the keyword, but if it's something a bit unsophisticated like unlikable, switch it up and build an argument that she's much worse than that. She's positively repulsive. Relationship questions. These have been much more common in other texts, but the exam can ask you to explore relationships between characters. And I can imagine a question that asks, for instance, how does Priestley present marriage in an Inspector Calls? Or how does Priestley present the family relationships in an Inspector Calls? With these kinds of questions, it's important to remember how you are being marked and to bring the relationships back to what each character represents, how the working class are exploited and mistreated in different ways by those more powerful than them so that the relationships become a symbolic thing. Remember, the characters aren't real and they all represent aspects of society. Don't forget that it isn't just what they say as well. What the inspector tells them is just as important. How does Priestley present Gerald's relationships with women in Inspector Calls was asked on the sample materials, but hasn't made it into the real exams yet. Again, this is really a question about how powerful men exploit vulnerable women. With a bit of clever and subtle use, you could argue that Gerald's presentation only looks okay because Eric is a far worse human character. I wouldn't make this the main thrust of the essay because you could be accused of not answering the question, but it certainly is an idea that you could use. Setting questions. This has come up a few times in other texts. It is unlikely, but it's a good reminder that you can explore Priestley's use of a single setting, making it a claustrophobic place. It's also a place that Eva Smith, Daisy Renton, would never be able to experience. Other aspects you can draw in are the changes to the lighting from rosy pink to bright white when the inspector walks in. Other settings are talked about. The Palace Bar, for instance, represents a showy place attached to a theatre, but it has an underbelly of sordid encounters with women that are euphemistically known as women of the town. Techniques questions. The ending has come up a couple of times in other texts and was in the sample assessment materials the board sent out when they first set up this GCSE, so it could come up. So here are a few things that you could say. The ending reveals that characters such as Burling, Mrs. Burling and Gerald are incapable of change. This allows you to contrast their earlier misdeeds with the ending. Any character can have a before and after analysis as a representative of an idea that Priestley wants to explore. The inspector's final speech is a pivotal moment in the play and has those great quotations about millions and millions and millions of Eva Smiths and John Smiths. Thematic questions. These generally follow this kind of structure. How does Priestley present selfishness and its effects in an inspector calls? Thematic questions can also be how far questions, like Priestley shows how inequality in society leads to tragedy, as a quotation. How far do you agree with this view of an inspector calls? These are the questions I generally advise students to choose because it allows you to talk about the inspector's last speech and 2 or 3 characters as symbols of the different kinds of exploitation. Whatever the questions, remember you get a choice. Don't be the one who does both. So what is the best one to choose? It's the one that lets you show off how much you know. For many students, the best strategic question is the question that explores more than one character, because your knowledge of all the characters can be a little bit less deep and less susceptible to forgetting during the exam. Subscribe for more revision videos, including an upcoming one about the processes to use to make sure you maximise your mark on inspector calls.